Okay, today I was going to talk about how to solve, this is the Mastermorphix, I hope I'm saying that right, Rubik's puzzle, and it's a pyramid shape, and it looks pretty strange. It's a little bit confusing, but actually it is almost identical type of puzzle as the Rubik's Cube 3 by 3, and I'll explain that in a second. So with a few minor differences. So the Rubik's Cube has these center pieces in here that are fixed, and then you can move the cubes around the outside like so. And you want to solve the faces. So what they did is they actually took a Rubik's Cube, and see if you look at the top here, let me just turn it like this. This is actually, the center piece here is actually equivalent to here, and these pieces right here, these trapezoid pieces, are equivalent to these edge pieces, and the corner pieces are equivalent to, these are two corner pieces, and the other two corner pieces are these triangles right here in the middle. And so when you want to solve this guy, you want to start out solving it. Typically you'll solve one set of corners, if you do corners first, and then you'll use some algorithm to solve the corners on the opposite side. So you'll end up solving these corners. And there's a few minor differences. Now see here, we have a sticker on the Rubik's Cube. We don't care what the orientation is of this guy, whether it's upside down or right side up. But in this cube, since the face is sliced into two separate colors, we do care about the orientation, and so we have to have all of these twisted properly. Conversely, on the edge ones, see the edge ones on the Rubik's Cube have a red and a green and a red and a yellow, so we care about the orientation of these, where they're placed. These ones have an ambiguity where they can be placed actually in one of three different spots. So this criterion is relaxed on the Mastermorphix puzzle. So that with those exceptions, you can use the same type of algorithms that you use on the Rubik's Cube to solve this guy. And one thing I noticed, an easy way to flip two edges. Okay, so if we had two edges flipped, which I'll show you in a second, it's a little bit confusing because you have to concentrate and make sure you don't make a mistake, because the reference points that you use for the size of the cube here are not as apparent here. It's a little bit more confusing, but it's still the same puzzle. You can still use the same algorithms, but so there's an algorithm that I like to use where you bring one side down like that, and you twist the bottom 180 degrees, and then you bring that side up and twist it 180 degrees. And when you do that, it swaps three pieces. 1, 2, 3. And if you do that 3 times, it will go back to its original position. Okay? There's 2 and 3. Okay? But what you'll find is when you do that, and I don't have a sticker on this one, but it will flip 2 of the centerpieces upside down. And so if you have a situation on the Mastermorphix where you have 2 centerpieces flipped upside down, and they're right in a row like that, well, I guess they should always be right in a row unless they're opposite from each other. They're right side by side, then you can use this algorithm in a similar way. Let me show you. So, and it's a little bit confusing because, so here's the centerpiece. I'm going to bring it down, and you want to make sure, okay, so I bring it down, and then I twisty it 180 degrees, then I bring it back up, and then I twisty this again 180 degrees, okay, and so you can see on this one we've swapped 1, 2, 3 what would be edge pieces on the Rubik's Cube, but are now side pieces on the Mastermorphix, and we have flipped 2 of the what are corner pieces here, okay, and we've changed we've swapped 3 of these in a row, 3 of these side pieces on the Mastermorphix. So if we keep on doing this, so that was one. Okay. There's two. You gotta be very careful. It's confusing to me if I don't keep these constant. And then we swap the bottom again. Okay, so now these ones are flipped back, but since it takes 3 times to go through this algorithm, I'll show you. Okay, here's the third time. Bring it down, twisty the bottom 180 degrees, and then bring it back up and twisty it back. Okay, so look, when I finish that, since that takes 3 times to swap these 3 pieces around, it has flipped both this corner piece and that corner piece. And so if you do it 3 more times, you'll flip it back. So we have a situation where there's 3 now flipped. I started out with 1 flipped. And so you cannot fix just 3. You have to fix them in pairs of 2. So if 1 is flipped, that's a bigger problem. So let me go ahead and fix this guy again using the same pattern. Where we go down and twisty this guy. So there's 1. Oh, I gotta complete it. Okay, there's 1. So the side pieces are swapped once, which would be the edge pieces on this guy, right? So we'll do the pattern again. There's 2, 180 degrees, then back up a quarter turn, and the bottom twisted back again, 180 degrees. Okay, and these are moved again, these 3 corner pieces, and it keeps on flopping the orientation of these edge pieces back and forth. And okay, here's the third time, 180 degrees, back up a quarter turn, and look, it solved these edge pieces properly again. So by doing that algorithm 3 times, then you flip these guys back. Now, like I said, I had an odd one out, and so if you have this type of puzzle here, and just one of the, I showed how you can flip 2 at a time. You can flip 2 of these corners in pairs and still keep all the corners and everything intact. But flipping 1 seems to be more difficult. A lot of the patterns that flip the corners flip 2 at a time, or I should call these edges. Now remember, these pieces here correspond to the center pieces in the Rubik's Cube, the normal Rubik's Cube. But normally we don't care about these. I like to do some experiments on this cube to try to figure out how to solve this one, because this is a lot easier to keep my orientation. This is a little bit confusing because you have to look at it like that in order to do a one-to-one comparison, and it gets confusing as you rotate it because these sides change the shape of the pyramid thing. So what I did is I put little pieces of tape on different spots on the Rubik's Cube here, because some of the patterns I was looking at, let's say it would flip one of these corners, but or one of these centers, but it also flipped the other one. And like I said, normally you don't care about the orientation of these in the Rubik's Cube. It solves the same whether it's at this orientation or another one. Okay, so anyway, some of the patterns that I looked at only switch two of these center pieces, flip them, and I found a pattern that I use to solve the corners. And when I do that pattern 6 times, well, if you do it twice, what it does is it swaps these 2 back and forth, and it rotates all these 3 and leaves that one untouched. And if you do it 6 times, it brings the corners back in place, and it rotates this one a quarter turn each time, and it doesn't rotate any of the other ones. So 6 times it flips it complete, and then you just have some of the edge pieces to solve. So the way this pattern goes is it's right, top, right prime, top, front, back, and down. So it brings that corner back down. That's 1 time. So it's swapped these 2. And see, it's rotated that a quarter turn. Okay. So we'll do that pattern again. Okay, there's twice. And now it's half turn. Okay, 3/4 turn. Okay, sorry the camera died on that one, but we'll continue on doing this pattern. Okay. And I believe this is the last time, unless I messed up the pattern. Okay, look at that. So all the corners are now back into the right positions, and we have flipped this. Remember, the tape was on the top, and now it's on the bottom, so we flipped that a half a turn. And all these other ones, I put tape on them so you can see that they didn't rotate. So this particular pattern just rotates this top centerpiece and doesn't rotate the other ones. And so this can definitely be used to solve our Mastermorphix puzzle here. And so what will happen is it will get all the corner pieces are the most difficult ones to solve. Okay, here's the pyramid shaped puzzle, the Mastermorphix puzzle, and it has one edge flipped. And remember how I showed you how to do that pattern on the Rubik's Cube, the 3x3. I found out that if you do that pattern just at the right place, you start with the piece below one of the center pieces like that, it won't flip the corner pieces, and so you can get away with only doing it 3 times. And I'll show you. So see this, just this one's flipped, the yellow-green one. Okay. So remember, it goes up, or right up, right prime, up prime, and then it's front prime, up prime, and then back. Okay, so that swapped these two, but it turned some of these other pieces different colors. But when you do that a second time, watch what happens. Up. Okay, down, back, twist, and okay, look at that. So now this top piece is back in place, and all of the other colors are in place except for a rotation of here. So if you do those sets 3 times, it will actually rotate this around and get this back into the right position. Okay, we'll do that a couple more times. Okay, here's the second set of those. Okay, there's part 1, because remember you have to do it in pairs to swap these 2 pieces with each other twice to get them back into the same position. Okay, so here's the second time we're doing that pair. Okay, front, twist, back. Okay, so now all the pieces are back in place again, except for this one's been twisted another 120 degrees. And we'll do it one more time, remember, with starting with the corner piece below this center one here. And here's the first set of that one. Okay, top, front, down. Okay, so these ones are twisted back, they're swapped, and one more time, let's swap them back to complete the pattern. Okay. Okay, and look at that. This piece is rotated back into the right direction, and it looks like the whole puzzle is completely solved. Anyway, so there's the way to swap it if you just have one piece out of, or one of these corner edge pieces rotated. Anyway, this is Dr. Janes, and thanks for watching.